Okay, so a direction field for a differential equation is shown. Sketch a graph of the solutions that satisfy the initial conditions. So I'll just do them in the colors that are there. So the red one, we're just starting with our x being 0 and our y is 2. So you just plot a point there. And then you want to follow these slopes. So your slope here should be the same steepness as the slopes there, and then it turns into that steepness. And then over here it's going to start to increase. So your slope should really match there. Now your graph might be, a little bit off or a little bit steeper or a little less steep, but it should be pretty close. So this looks like it might have been maybe a parabola or something. Okay, then we move to the green one. We have y of 0 is -1, so you're starting at this point here. And then follow the slopes. Oh, I'm not very good on the slate with drawing, so yours probably look better than mine. First time for everything. There, so something like that. And then the blue one. So here we're given y of 3 is -2, so you go over to 3, down to -2, plot your first point, and then follow them. So any questions on this? The AP questions that go with this don't really match like what you're doing here, but you use the same idea for them. So like slope field AP questions are easier, I would say, than other AP questions. And sometimes these will show up on the free response questions, and when they do, they'll be like, what's on the next page? I'm sure you practiced some of those last year. So. Okay, so here's when a direction field is given for you. So it tells you what all the slopes are at all the spots, and you can draw in your curves if you're given an initial condition. Here you have to draw a slope field, which seems kind of tedious, but a lot of times there's a pattern, so it makes it way easier. But technically what you should do is put your x's, your y's, and then your dy dx. And you should do that for every single x and y pair here. Now on the AP test, there's usually 9-ish points that you have to do, so it doesn't take that long to do. With these ones, there's several. I'm not going to make you do every single one in your homework. So we're just doing x plus 1, so does it even matter what the y value is here? Not for our slope, right? So I'm going to still put it down how I have it on my paper here, but for our x values, let's say we start when our x is 0 for some of them, and then let's pick some y's. Let's go. Well, our y's only go from -2 to 2, so let's do that, -2 up to 2. What is our slope going to be for all of these coordinates? X plus 1 will give me what? 1, right? So your slope should be 1 at each of those points. So these are the points. So at 0, -2. It should have a slope of 1, which means it would point directly to this one here. So your slope should be pretty accurate. Usually on the AP test, the slopes are like 1, -1, 0. Sometimes they do a half or a 2, so it should look a little steeper or a little less steep. So any questions on this here? So then you can move to your x being, 1 or 2. Stop. So if we move to our x's being 1s and our y's all being the same, what should my slopes be? 2. Okay, so when you move over here and your x's are 1s, your slope should be 2, which means that this should point to the origin. And then all of those should be that same steepness. Okay, and as I move over and my x's are 2, what should my y's be? 3. So they should just keep getting steeper here. So this one would go and point to this point here. So it should be about that steep. Now pretty soon they're going to look, kind of the same as each other, but don't be the person who takes, forever on their homework because they've got a ruler and they're trying to measure all these. Like, as long as you get the idea, you'll be okay. Because, like I said, the AP test is ones, negative ones, zeros, halves, and twos. Really are the biggest ones. Then this is even more steep. What's happening if I go the other direction? Yeah, so if I go to a -1 for my x's, it would be actually 0. So you'd put your zeros in, then as you go further, it's going to go into the negatives. So when x is -2, we get -1. And then -2 would be steeper. So questions on that? Okay, more of them are like this here where you're given, 2 different things that you have to plug into. So we'll do the first line here again of the 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and -2 to 2 for my y's. And then we're trying to find the slope. So all I'm doing is I'm adding those 2 together for this one. So I get -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2 for these. So then you have to go to those points. So at 0, -2. This point here, the slope is -2, which means you go up 2 and to the left 1. Okay, then as I move to 0, -1, the slope is -1, which means you go up 1 over 1. So it's pointing to this point again. And then we've got the slope of 0 here. And then we get a slope of 1 and a slope of 2. So questions on that at all? You guys could fill in the rest of them, right? Are you guys okay with that? Now what happens if the denominator is 0? What would you draw in your graph? Up and down, because technically when the denominator is 0, the slope's undefined, and the slope is undefined when you have a vertical line. So it would be like a straight up and down line. They never ask that I've seen on the AP test yet, but technically that's what would happen. They maybe would leave it blank instead of drawing an up and down spot there. But yeah, technically it would be a vertical line there. So, okay, any questions on that part? Okay, so you got your slope fields packet there. Let's take a glance at that so we can figure out what we're doing there. So we just did number 1 and 3 enough, so we don't have to do that. So how about you guys do, let's do number 6. And which one, 4 or 2? Let's do 2 and 6. So go ahead and circle 2 and 6 on the front page, okay? If you can do those, you'll be good. The rest of the packet then, you should be able to do. I think it's matching for the second page. I want to say one of them had like a typo or something that you couldn't do, so ask me on that tomorrow if you get to something that's weird. Any questions? I'll let you guys work then here.